Welcome, everybody, and thank you for attending the Public Safety Committee of the City of Hudson for Thursday, January 14th, 2016, and we will do the roll call.
Alderperson Alms.
Yes.
Alderperson Hall. Here. Alderperson Morset.
Here. Number 2, discussion possible action on minutes of the November 5th, 2015 meeting. I will move for approval.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Seeing none, passes. Number 3, discussion possible action on the municipal code 175-3 to allow composting. Marty, if you want to do a brief synopsis for Bill. It's
Well,
like-
this came through from Public Works to Public Safety regarding amending the code to allow composting. At the meeting in, I believe it was in November, the committee decided to ask the city attorney to put a composting or ordinance together amending the code based on the three references that she brought in from different municipalities here in Wisconsin, which were almost identical, the same. I did have her make one change to it in regards to composting, and it comes under, I believe it's under the maintenance portion of the compost itself, that it has to be securely covered to keep animals from accessing the compost pile. That had not been put in there. I asked her to put that in there. That was one of the arguments that the neighbors, from the lady that brought this forward to Public Works, had made, that the animals were getting in there and pulling it out. So Kathy put this together. I took a look at it. It looks pretty good. It takes care of the issues that we have in chapter 20712. And it should take care of any issues that we have regarding the composting.
Any questions on that from committee?
How does that stack up with other communities? I mean, this is pretty much in line with other communities.
Pretty much in line. It's a little bit, I think it's a little bit tighter than it is over in Minnesota, but she did have 3 other ordinances that were from Wisconsin that were almost identical to this one, and they were larger communities than us. So, and I can't remember the names of them off the top of my head. I don't have that information, but in taking a look at them, they looked relatively straightforward. It takes care of the issue of making sure that nothing gets into them, that there's only certain things that can be put into them, that they're secured so animals can't get to them, and then if they don't take care of them, the city can come in and say, hey, you fix it or we're going to remove it for you. So
Thank you.
I think it takes care of that issue.
Yeah, the committee at the past meetings were very supportive of changing the ordinance and allowing the residents to compost, which is a responsible thing we should be doing. So, Joyce, any questions?
No, so do you need a motion to move it to the city council?
Correct.
I will do that.
I'll second it.
Any other further discussion? Seeing none? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We'll recommend to council for approval. Number 4, discussion possible action to conduct the 5th annual Les Berg Memorial 5K Walk Run on Wednesday, May 25th, 2016 at 6 p.m. in Lakefront Park. Marion, if you want to take the podium. State your name and address, and we'll go from there.
Marion Weber's, what is my address? Jeez, 604 Grandview Drive. I'm suffering from brain damage. But we have the park from 1 o'clock until I think about 8 o'clock or whatever. And we've done this run 3 years in a row. And they're just requesting that we would be able to do it again this year. Do you have a copy of the map
do.
and the request?
Chief, has there been any issues in the past?
There have been no issues. This one is totally self-contained within the park. There have not been any issues with it. And I would recommend that it be approved again.
Okay. Any other comments? Entertain a motion or make?
Just to, so are we approving it, or does it have to go
We're
to council?
recommending it will go to
Recommend,
council.
okay. I'll make the motion to recommend that we send it to council,
And I'll second that.
that we send it to council for recommend.
Recommend
Recommend it to
approval.
council, whatever. You know what I'm saying.
Do you agree with all that?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Did you follow all of it?
Yeah. Any further discussion? No issues with EMS fire? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion for recommendation to council passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet. Number 6, discussion possible action.
Are you skipping number
Oh,
5?
Number 5, discussion and possible action to amend Hudson City Code 212-9A regarding sidewalks to be kept clear, and I believe this is just language cleanup.
Well, and basically it came from Catherine Monkitrick through our city prosecuting attorney, Dan Murray. We've been issuing sidewalk citations through our code enforcement officer, and the problem we've been running into is that the code is so narrowly read that people were saying, wait a minute, that's not my property, that's not the front of my business, so I don't have to clean it, it's the back. The main portion came off of the issue from the marina along Second Street there. Responsibilities, they were issued some citations, and Dan had a hard time being able to prosecute those. So he just recommended some changes to the sidewalk ordinance, and this was the language that she came up with. I know this issue's been brought up in the council before in regards to the issues on Cooley Road with the Carmelites. So I wasn't sure how to proceed with it. That's why I just brought this forward to safety to take a look at. I don't know if we need to recommend this go to or to Public Works, or how do we want to look at it?
What was the issue?
Well, in regards to the ordinance says that you're responsible for maintaining your sidewalk in front of your residence. It didn't say anything about the sides or the back, so this obviously will help clean up that language. But the issue came up during public safety, and I think it was, the city council meeting out of Public Works, is they wanted to change the ordinance back then in regards to Cooley Road because the Carmelites
against
property
that,
came
yeah.
down on Second Street. And I know there was a big discussion about that at that time, so.
Is now, with this new language change, the marina going forward will be responsible for that sidewalk over there?
Well, yes, we'll be able to go in there and say, listen, this is your responsibility, you're gonna have to take care of this.
Okay, well, I think that's a moot point as far as what Cooley Road has to do. We take
Right.
this as the new language.
Right, I'm just bringing forward that discussion was being had, so.
Yeah. Any discussion?
Sounds reasonable.
I'll move we recommend change to council.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Number 6 now, discussion possible action on the traffic safety issue on Vine Street. I requested that this be put on the, on our agenda for tonight because of, was it last Wednesday? The residents of Vine Street, particularly in 800 block, were very concerned about safety in crossing and speeding because of their children that cross and others that cross to go to the school, traffic speeds, biking, and just the overall safety of Vine Street. So I wanted to make it clear that the city of Hudson, and in particular the Public Safety Committee, is going to be working to try to find solutions to issues that they're bringing up. Because this was the first that I think Chief Jensen and myself and the rest of the staff has really heard about these speeding incidents and their concerns for traffic. I mean, I'd be willing to bet there are probably, everybody's got issues with something up there on 9th and Vine because of the blind side going east. So I guess I just want to open it up for conversation and just kind of identify some of the things. I know Marty has sent out the accident speeding report. How many entries are there about?
No, this is just the accident reports for, and these are primarily for naming Vine Street as a principal roadway, and then you have the arterials off to the side on Third Street. You can tell from, and I think these were taken from 1999 to 2015, we've had a total of 51 accidents in that, what is that, 16-year period now? Which, and if you take a look, the majority of the accidents that are on Vine Street happened obviously around 3rd and 4th Street. That's where a lot of traffic's at. We do have some at 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. Obviously, there some at 9th Street again. But if you take a look at it, we had a lot of traffic issues early on in the early 2000s. But the last accident that we have reported on Vine at 9th was in 2011. We had one at 8th and Vine in 2015. Before that was '04. 7th Street, the last accident there was in '07. 6th Street, we had one in 13. 5th Street was 14 and 12. And then of these accidents, there was only 3 that were pedestrian related. One of them was at 2nd and St. Croix. I mean, not at 2nd and 2nd and Vine. We had one at 4th and Vine and one at 7th and Vine. So out of 51 accidents, we only had 3 that were pedestrian related, which I don't shows a lot of issue with it. I don't think there's a lot of data that supports that being a very dangerous roadway at the present time. The only thing we don't have right now is speed data. I do have a collection device that I will put out to try to collect the data on that roadway, probably in the middle of that, 6th, 7th Street area. And I can get speeds in both directions, and I can get them for a week time period. The problem I'm running into now is I gotta make sure I find a window of at least 7 days where the weather is gonna be good. Because if we get a snowfall, that is obviously gonna disrupt the whole number system. So I gotta try to find a time and when I can get that out there, and we're gonna have clear weather for a long period of time. So once I get that, I will make sure I bring those numbers forward as quickly as possible.
Okay. The other purpose kind of us is kind of mull around ideas. I want to bring to your attention, both of you, if you have not got a copy, the city does have a stop and yield sign policy. And there's purposes of why we have this in town. It is to be, why don't you explain it?
Well, the stop and yield sign policies, to make sure that we're putting them in the right places, but they're designed for one purpose and one purpose only, and that's to direct the right of way. It's not for reducing speed, it's not for pedestrian safety. Those weren't the designs of those. It was for the right of way of vehicles. There's been research done, and I know Tom Sifko will back this up, that is, if you put stop signs in places, there's evidence to prove that people speed up to a stop sign and then they speed up and leave to go to the next stop sign. So because they're constantly in a hurry versus having a straight roadway there. So, and that was the reason we adopted this stop sign and yield policy, which is from the federal government. It's out of their manual for stop and yield signs. So,
Yeah, and the purpose is, it's the devices, according to the manual on uniform control devices for streets and highways, stop and yield signs are for the purpose of assigning the right-of-way at intersections. And it's always been, since I've been on this committee, we've been very cautious about, knee-jerk reactions of putting stop signs in every time somebody comes in and asks us to put a stop sign up. That's not what they're for. They're not to control speed.
correct.
They're to assign right-of-way.
And since we've adopted this policy, we've actually removed some stop signs and some yield signs.
That's a
that
whole
have-
different argument. I don't
Yeah,
want.
exactly. Well, no, but I'm just saying is that the policy was put in place so that we didn't have all those requests coming in and that we were putting stop signs up everywhere, so.
Right. So there are some suggestions that we can do. I mean, as we move in, hold on, Marion, I'll get to you in a second. As far as this committee, come up with ideas. I know that at the meeting, there were stopping yellow light, a flashing yellow light for
pedestrians.
pedestrians, even simple crosswalks that could be put down, which I don't believe there are any at 9th and
I just
7th.
wanted to give this to you, Randy. Denny gave me those. Those are street counts of vehicles that were taken by DOT on Vine Street between those intersections. They're highlighted in yellow there, just to give you an idea. This is from 2009. It was the last available data he had. He did have one from 2015 in July. But the problem with those counts is that in July, it doesn't take into account the school, the buses, and all the other traffic, so. But I just wanted to give you that information, just so you had it to see the number of vehicles and cross streets that come into that area.
So I'll open up for committee to, kind of think. I don't believe you two were at the meeting. I don't know if you kind of heard the gist of it.
I heard some of it, yes.
A lot of concerns about the speeding, both with our vehicles as far as EMT, fire, speeding in the middle of the night at 80 miles an hour. Now, none of this has been reported to the police department, so it's hearsay. Addressing any, kids crossing the streets back and forth. what can we do to make it safer, things like that. I know the biking issue is a big one as well, safe biking from back and forth. It is a main thoroughfare, east to west, next to Cooley Road to get through town. The street belongs to everybody. It's not just the residents there. That's part of a community. So I just want to see if, pick your brains and see what kind of ideas, whether it be at this meeting now or later, to kind of feel out what you guys think we need to do. Is it enforcement? Is there apparatuses that we can put in, painting crosswalks, solar light blinkings like we have in a couple areas in town? I would caution, in my opinion, stay away from the stop sign, unless it was warranted, but at this point, it's not warranted.
No, I don't think we have enough evidence here to justify stop signs.
I would agree with that. I mean, it doesn't seem like there's enough accidents to prove that we need that right of way through a stop sign. I think I like the idea of getting the data of the speed that's going on Vine before we take that next step. What kind of evidence is supported with some of those signs that are on Second Street with the yield to pedestrians coming across?
Center lane marking
Center
sign?
line
Yeah.
marking signs. I know they put them out on the high volume areas.
Mhm.
They don't, Public Works has only got a few of them. We had more, but they keep getting hit.
Gotcha.
That's the nice thing about them flopping over, but then they get damaged really bad. So that is a possibility of putting those out.
Is there any evidence to support that helps or that would help?
There's no empirical evidence that shows that it helps, but I know anything that you can put out there that helps slow people down. I know that there's one that sits at the intersection of Diamond and the YMCA entrance at Vine Street right there.
Yep.
And I don't know how many times that I've been at the YMCA and watched the vehicles come up and stop at that pedestrian crossing because they get it in their head that it's a stop. So it is out there. People do see it, so.
There's the flag crossing system, if they're concerned about that. Again, you're asking those folks to stand out in the middle of the street, and if there's a speeding issue, which is an enforcement issue, then we have to address it that way.
Mhm.
There are possibilities, so there are things that we could think about, but my main purpose was so that the residents know that our public safety is working on this. Because, if they've been having these issues for as long as they have, this is the first we heard about it on
Right.
last Wednesday. Marion, did you wanna,
Yeah, I was at that meeting too.
can you come up to the podium, please?
Hi, Marion Weber, 604 Grandview Drive. I was at the meeting also, and in conversation, someone mentioned the flashing speed limit. Is that?
Putting another, like down at Diamond Drive there, putting another flashing, that's a
Yeah,
possibility as well.
okay.
Okay. Chief St. Martin, your opinion is fire apparatuses going in and out? I mean,
Well, I have received no complaints to this point, and if I hear of any, obviously if there is any, please let us know. As far as responding with our vehicles, I would say 99% of the time, as far as lights and sireners, we're going the opposite way, and that's responding from downtown to up on top of the hill. Which, as far as the speeding is, it's almost probably impossible to get up above speed going up that steep of a grade. As far as access to buildings and stuff, I think it was mentioned there might be some difficulty. I drove up there today and looked at several of the houses. There's nothing unique about that property that we don't see all over the city, from power lines to trees to access points. So although it might not be perfect, there really is nothing that's any different there than we see throughout the rest of our community. So
what is the legal speed limit for emergency vehicles?
is it 10 over, I believe? Speed
No,
limit or-
It just depends
Or
on the
magic
vehicle.
proof.
If you're talking about your fire truck, it's
Yeah.
where you can safely, drive with due regard is what the wording
And I-
is.
I think
Do
they
you
just-
have just a policy for your department of what you suggest?
Safety for the conditions, yes.
Yeah.
And the reality of it is, the size of the vehicles, unless they're going downhill, and especially in the case of going up there, with the weight and the size of them, maintaining speed limit is tough enough, let alone going over it. But basically, precautionary and especially around town, because it's hard to stop them, so we try to maintain speed limit, or obviously some cases where it's prudent might be less than speed limit is what's recommended with that size vehicle, so.
And I know we work together when we get, if we get a complaint about the volunteers responding to the fire hall, we get on top of those right away. When we
They're
do
not
get-
supposed to speed, right?
But, correct, they're supposed to do the speed limit, correct.
And, like I said, if there is any issues, we'll take care of that immediately.
Yeah.
And then we have I have the ability to take that away, and, hopefully we won't have to get that, but that will happen fairly soon, because that's the last thing we want is,
No, right, we don't want to affect response time. How about you, Brandon?
I would tend to agree with what Scott has said. Most of our stuff is going to be that way. It's easier to maintain a lower speed going up the grades, etc. And with our new dispatch protocols, you're going to see less emergent responses from EMS.
Okay.
The dispatchers are getting more information, and so the crews aren't going to be going emergent to every call as well.
Okay.
and we're actually looking at our protocols too also, and, maybe modifying responses to where kind of the similar is maybe putting less equipment onto the street and, for different things, so, safety on wear and tear and everything else, so.
So you're identifying more at the scene, whoever's first contact, and then calling off, because normally you're sending the whole ball of yarn, aren't you?
Yeah, and you have to be obviously careful of how you start and stop doing that, but we're looking at paring it down a little bit. It's depending upon the responses and working with EMS to see what, if they're getting out there ahead of sometimes too, and they can triage what we have or let us know, stepping them back to a routine response without lights and siren,
Good. Okay.
So, we're cognizant of that too, and trying to make it so that it's happening less. It is a main artery, east and west, that will continue to and probably always be used to get up on top of the hill, so.
Right. We can't avoid that, that's, Vine Street's been there a very long time, it's gonna continue to be there. It's just how we identify and come up with the solutions to mitigate any speeding, any other issues as far as.
And like I say, to me, this was, I guess I'd call a surprise, because I have not had, it hasn't brought to my attention any of the issues that it sounds like they're bringing up, so if
And no
there-
one's contacted you to look at that property?
No, so I don't know, but we're happy to, if there is, and I want to know what's happening, but I haven't to this point been in contact with any of that, so.
Okay. Anything else you folks want to add?
Chief, would you say that
Thanks, Scott.
looking at the speed is there a seasonal lookout too? I understand with the winter, if it is snowing, it would be slow, but generally saying,
Well, obviously in the summertime, in ideal conditions, you might have increased speeds. When school's out, again, that'll probably be the same thing. And in times of the day, obviously will be issues as well, going to school, going away from school, added traffic. That does have something to do with it as well, and speeding issues throughout the whole city. Again, we do get complaints on a regular basis about speeding on this street or speeding on that street. I just haven't gotten any from Vine. So if they're happening, we're more than happy to try to address them, but if we're not aware of them,
Well, that's why we're talking about it. We're gonna be
Right.
proactive, and as this, construction project comes into, picture clearer, there'll be more answers, and then we can hopefully, identify solutions for those residents and, work in the future about these bigger projects coming down the road with the Wisconsin DOT and ultimately the project of Vine Street. So keep that in mind. I'd like to bring this up at our next meeting for more conversation. We may have more answers from the planning and development of the Vine Street reconstruction plan, and we can go from there. Any other thoughts? Anybody? Jim, Marion? Briefly?
I wasn't, said, do I want to talk about this or not, because I sure appreciate the volunteers, but they do speed down Vine. I mean, I live 100 feet off Vine, and at the stop sign there, and they blow that sign all the time, every time. So, and it's kind of touch and go. I like to see them, I want them there, but they do not adhere to
Which
the
stop sign?
what's stop sign do?
Grandview and Vine.
I'm not sure, but I believe they just passed a new, didn't they, is that part of it that you might be able to use that? We should check into that, in responding. Non-lights, sometimes they can do that. We have to check into that. But if there is, let me know. And especially, what's really helpful is if you can get a car, you know, what kind of car it is, what color and all that, because then we can really
Yeah,
pinpoint.
well,
exactly what it
there's
is.
always two of them, sometimes three,
Yeah.
so.
So if you can, and let me know, and we'll definitely take care of it.
Are you talking chase vehicles?
No, I'm talking volunteer fire.
Oh, okay.
And that's, you know, that's certainly that's the main east-west route, and the
Yeah.
trucks are gonna come back up it, and
No,
you
and
can
like I
almost
said,
count on it.
if you can get kind of identify the vehicles and that, we'll, and when it is, we'll definitely look into it and take care of it.
Any further discussion on that topic? Thank you. No? All right. And if you guys don't have copies of the stop and yield sign, we'll get you copies of that.
That would be great.
Okay, number 7, EMS, Fire Department, Police Department updates. EMS will go Brendan.
All right, we just filled our 4th full-time medic spot, replacing the spot that I vacated.
Very nice.
Deanne started last week.
Who?
Deanne Claypool.
Okay.
Started last week. Things are going well with her orientation. And we have the operations supervisor position open till the end of next week. Hoping to fill that by the end of the month.
You getting candidates?
I haven't heard any applicants yet. They're all going to Devon.
Okay.
So,
Chief St. Martin.
We filled the permanent part-time fire inspector position with the acting inspector, Mike Pruka, who's been on the fire department for, I think, since '08 and was an explorer before that. We're in the process of working on, I think I mentioned, with Act 270, fire inspections for sprinkler system and alarm systems now is going to require a licensure through the state. And they're working on what exactly you need for training in that above and beyond. So we're working with the state, and I'm in the process of trying to make sure we get our inspectors that licensure. So right now, our fire inspector, what we have is they're not licenses. We're accredited through the college system, which works with the state. This will actually be a licensure, which is every 2 years. And again, of course, it costs money to keep it, and then there'll be continuing ed and all the other stuff. So something we'll have to address. Right now, we're working on trying to get those certifications for myself and the inspectors, then figuring out going forward, obviously budgeting, continuing ed and all that. So that's kind of a big thing right now. We're in the process of getting I'm Responding from the county. We had talked about doing that on our own, and it wasn't integrated with their system in the past. Now it is, and they're paying for it.
Briefly, what's I'm Responding?
Brandon will probably explain it better.
Don't know yet?
No, I know it's.
it helps kind of determine who's coming down for a response. So if we get a call, we get an alert on our phone, and we can check in whether or not we're going to be coming to the station within the next 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, so we can kind of gauge who's going to be there, how many apparatus we can get out the door in a timely manner.
Very nice.
So one thing for us that's nice is if we're at the station, we'll have a screen up, and it also tells people who are on vacation or unable, or the time. For us, the nice thing is if you're coming from on the other side of town, you might I'll be there in 10 minutes, so someone is 3, so we can gauge of who to get out the door. It's going to be a really big tool for us. The one thing we didn't budge is we need to get a screen for the apparatus floor so people can monitor it, but I think it's going to be a great tool and a lot of help. We can also put training information and stuff on it too. So it's nice of the county to kind of go forward and move forward with it and provide it for us, and I'm looking forward to. I think it's going to be a great tool. So that's be interesting, and obviously it'll help us work with EMS also.
We were excluded from it because we staff a crew, but our first responders will be utilizing it.
So
And it offers mapping as well, so they'll get a map of where the call is at from their location. They can drive right there if they need to.
and we signed off. In my mind, we were in compliance last year for inspection, so I signed off with the state for 2% dues, and I'm looking forward to be audited sometime in probably April or May in 2015.
Keep us
In
posted.
that process, with working, doing some more implementation with Image Trend, we're also have come up with some handouts for property owners. So when we go out there, we can give them and basically kind of bullet points of the top, maybe 20 things we're looking for. So we're working on that, and then also for non-egregious infractions, we're having come up with a card where they can self-report basically and say, okay, I took care of it on this date and that date, and send it back. And
Very nice, take the onus off of you guys.
well, and we're, and it's saying, and it's, like I said, we're now in the second year of this, and it's gonna see how, how last year went and how people are in compliance this year, how this is, so it's gonna be another couple year process to see how actually, what the best implementation is, but we're trying to do it on an educational basis and work with them and give them the information they need so they know what we're looking for. So that's kind of on the inspection side. And then just kind of looking forward to kind of solving maybe some of our space needs here in the future in the next year.
As soon as I know something, you guys will do something.
We're excited, and we appreciate the common council and the mayor keeping us on the forefront of trying to solve our space issues, so
Yeah.
thank you.
You also had your executive staff elections.
We did. I think there's only one change from last year. We're also looking at some couple other positions that were approved. We'll probably have those elections later on in the year. And just, kind of continue to move forward with that. And we're paring down some of our committees and that, trying to focus more on training now that we took over rescue. So, and we have, chief is also a part of our rescue, so. And it looks like we'll be hiring probably sometime this year, having another list in the spring, and then hiring, we have a couple of vacancies now. We had firefighter Petit retired and firefighter Craig Smith retired, so.
I think Bill was interested in signing up.
We're looking for guys that are kind of close, like maybe just up the hill too.
Well, once we get that satellite station, Bill will be right up there.
Yeah, you could carpool with your neighbor coming down too.
Can I blow the horn? Marty, updates in the police department.
I did some reorganization at the end of November, December, based on the budget that was approved for 2016. Sergeant Glenn Hartman has now gone from patrol to investigations. He's gonna be my investigative sergeant. Pete Schultz is now gonna go back to patrol. I did some changing up just to give some guys that have been in patrol positions or investigative positions for a long time a little different perspective. So Pete will be going to the night shift here once we get our back up to full speed. Glenn Hartman will be the supervisor of investigations, and he'll have two detectives underneath him, Tracy Hall, and then whoever we decide to move into that position once we get up to full strength. With that reallocation, Jeff Willems, who is here, was selected as my new lieutenant. He will be in charge of the day-to-day operations. We're going to swear him in at the next city council meeting, but he's already started his duties effective December 26th. So he's been working. He's doing a fantastic job. He's learning a lot about running the total department instead of from one area. So it's working out real well. Police and Fire Commission just finished their interviews on January 7th. Gave me an eligibility list because I currently have two openings, one to fill the lieutenant's position and then one that was open from last year. We're currently doing 4 backgrounds on the top 4 candidates. My hope is by the time we get the backgrounds done, the physical, psychological done, the job offers, we'll have somebody starting end of February, first part of May. It's going to take some time. We're going to start 2.
Okay.
They might be staggered within about 2 or 3 weeks, just so we get one started, and then we'll get the other one started, because they have to go through an FTO FTO program, and we're talking about 90 days for them to go through that before they're out on their own. So it could be sometime into June, July before they're out on their own. So we are then going to be doing next Wednesday, the 20th. We're going to be interviewing patrol officers for that position of detective. So the next meeting, I should be able to tell you who's going to be going to the detective bureau. So
Okay.
Otherwise, I think that's mostly it.
Congratulations, Lieutenant. Did you want to say anything?
He'll be coming to these meetings. He'll be doing a lot of talking.
All right. I'll hold you to it, because I know he loves that. All right, any informational items? I think we have something from Brandon, EMS fleet info. Did you want to touch on
I
that?
just was submitting our current fleet, after.
I think we asked for that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Fire's fleet is on
Fire-
I submitted ours last month, didn't I?
Yeah,
It's on this one.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it, okay.
If you have to be excused,
I will, thank you.
you're welcome. Any other items for future agendas?
At the parks, Pat said that he was gonna be sending some information over about putting some more lights up at the Vine Street, Snow Hill or Sledding Hill. Have you seen anything?
No.
Okay.
You, Mel? Okay. Hopefully we can get that on next. That would come out of parks,
Yes.
yeah, or public works too, because,
Well, I thought he said he was sending it to public safety because it was they were concerned about
people hitting trees.
this,
and-
the kids walking out into the street and not enough light to see them.
Oh, on the streets, actual,
Pardon?
on the street, Vine Street, or
Yeah.
all around the block?
Well, on Vine Street and then on each of the ends.
Okay,
So what is that, 9th and 10th?
yeah.
I'll check with them.
Bill, anything?
Not at this time.
I have nothing except for the Vine Street concerns of speeding. Any other business for the committee? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
And I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you very much. Have a great night.